Hello, BookTube. Sorry for the slight delay. Can I fix the lighting at all here, little baby? No, maybe not. Maybe not. It looks to me like the camera quality is worse here than usual. I don't quite know what to do about that. Uh, but then again, you're not here for the camera quality, are you? Let's see if we can clean that up a little. Maybe is it maybe just dirty? No, no, it's just a low resolution. Well, it doesn't matter. You're here for my golden words, and I don't have long for the Stevestream anyway. I just wanted to give a forlorn little writing update, just a bit of a writing update, maybe a touch on publishing, which is not a word you hear often from me, but it is a subject that's more and more on my mind. Uh, the writing update, of course, for the Steve Donahue Writing Collective involves my own ongoing project. Of course, I would like to hear about your own ongoing projects, but mine is The Trials of Esther novel. We're writing for 2 months. My goal is 1,000 words a day. I've been hitting that goal more or less all along. It's going to take a big hit next week. I don't know that I'm going to be doing much writing next week. But if you end up the writing collective at the beginning of April with a manuscript of what 50,000 words instead of 60,000 words, that's still pretty good. That's still pretty good. That's a lot of work that you didn't have before, that I didn't have before. And I'm writing a novel about a privately owned, old, venerable, struggling publishing house and its inhabitants who face two major hurdles that come out of the blue. They're just scrabbling along, barely doing any business, just the way they've always done. When suddenly they hit two major hurdles and don't know what to do about either one of them. And my two plot lines here, what can we do here? Anything? No? Anything to improve the lighting on this thing? Well, it doesn't matter. My two plot lines both involve redemption arcs, which I love. And I have just decided that I'm going to write what I love rather than write what I think I should love or what I think other people want me to love. I'm just going to write what I love. And it's going well. The Trials of Esther is going well. I am not yet still at that tipping point when you start to be sledding downhill. I imagine that will happen soon. It'll be the peak of irony if I hit that point right before next week and then have to shelve writing for a while. I've never done that before. I've never hit that peak, felt that downward momentum, and not indulged in it. And who knows? I have unusual plans for next week, all of next week. So all of my usual plans will probably go out the window, at least a little. And you will be seeing all of those plans. I'm hoping you'll find them great viewing. That's the writing update that I wanted to do for this Stevestream, is that my writing project is going well, despite a couple of interruptions and despite a couple of distractions, and also despite this looming, slowly coalescing menace coming at me from the outside world, from an old friend of an old friend who I think needs help with a project. I think I know what that project is. I think I know what I'm supposed to do with that project, and I don't even want to think about it. Is this going to be every summer? It's not summer yet. It's once upon a time this would be midwinter, but it's it's almost spring. Is this going to be every single summer and spring that I get somebody else's work to do? I don't know if it is or not. I don't know if it's even going to happen. But despite all of that, my writing has been happening on a regular basis. I really like this story. So the Trials of Esther has been happening. The other thought that's on my mind is not writing, but publishing. I have been saying for years on this channel that I wanted to start self-publishing books. I write a lot. I have written a lot. There's a huge amount of material there. I would like to start self-publishing books. A lot of you have done me the incredible honor over the years of saying that you would really like to, you'd be interested in buying something if I published it with my own name. That's wonderful. That's a wonderful, warm feeling. Also, I kind of like the idea of having it out there, of having stuff out there as a book. I have a whole bunch of ideas. The ideas and the production has not been the problem. The problem has been the technical side of things, learning the technical side of things, learning gutters and margins and ISBN prices and cover reveals and all that stuff that I'm not mocking it. Don't mistake my tone. All that stuff that self-published authors do all the time. And the more they do it, the better they get at it. I know that. I've watched so many tutorials. I've watched so many videos where they talk about their experiences. I've known a lot of them. I absolutely do not want to go the traditional route. I have no interest in desperately hunting around for an agent and scrabbling around for the right person at the right time in the right mood after the right lunch to get traditionally published. The main goal, the main advantages of traditional publishing are twofold. One, they do all the publicity for you, and two, you get to walk into a retail bookstore and see your book for sale. Only A, retail publishing, mainstream publishing in America does not do all the PR for you anymore. They barely do anything. And B, who goes into retail bookstores? I haven't been in one in a year. If what would I do? Make a special trip just to be in there for the exactly 6 weeks that my book is in the store, which is the entire window of time that the store has to have it there before they can return it for a full price? So they will return it for a full price. So I've got a tiny window of time to see my book in a new bookstore if I happen to get somebody to bring me to one. Those are not incentives. Neither one of those are incentives, to say nothing of the fact that by the time you get to your agent and your publisher, you have lost 80% of any money that you would make. I'm not looking to make money here, but that's another factor that it just seems like such an obviously dumb, antiquated pattern to do that I have no interest in even trying it. I am not here. I'm not doing this in order to build any kind of prestige or any kind of name for myself. I just like the idea of having work out in the world with a price tag on it. There's a very, very old atavistic part of me that very much believes in writing for money. It wouldn't be a high price tag. It's the same thing that leads me to believe in maybe some other things. So, I mean, a Patreon connected with this BookTube channel has always been a little strange. I'm very, very grateful to the people who contribute to it. But I make these videos anyway, and my patrons don't ever give me special requests. I don't do any special material for patrons only. I don't do anything like that because this is conversation to me. This is not, it's not face-to-face conversation, but it is human interaction. Seems foreign to me to monetize that. I the money that I get from my handful of patrons, I'm very grateful for Patreon. The money I get for it, I plow right into books to talk about on this channel. Uh, but writing is a different thing. I have no qualms at all about putting price tag on my writing. I've been doing that for a long, long time. So I have no qualms at all about doing that. So I've got both those things on my mind, the writing and the publishing, self-publishing. I just think I can't help but, I know it's probably naive of me. I can't help but think that it would be a lot of fun. Probably there are proofreaders out there. There are probably beta readers out there. Well, I don't so much need beta readers. As far as I can understand, what a beta reader is someone to help you get your ideas in shape. I don't need any help getting my ideas into shape. And this absolute nonsense that is promulgated from one end of the writer instruction spectrum to the other, that the thing that signals that you're a writer is basically you know less than anyone about what makes writing good. So yeah, I'm gonna write a chapter, but then I need my first string beta group, my second string beta group, and my final string beta group readers to work it all over because it's absolute unreconstructed, unreadable garbage before they do. No, thank you. If you write like that, don't write. It means you have no talent. It doesn't mean you have a calling for writing. It means you have just the opposite. No, I don't need any of that. But I think it would be fun to brainstorm cover art, for instance. Maybe get some of your thoughts on distribution ideas, fun ways to get the word out, fun ways to engage people who are not part of the audience of my channel. I also don't know about the intersection between the audience for my channel and my readership, my actual readership. I have a readership going back decades sometimes of people who just decided, okay, I like the way this guy writes about books. I'm going to follow him wherever he goes. If he starts running stuff in a newspaper on the other side of the world, I'm going to subscribe to that newspaper. I'm going to tell them that I'm subscribing because of him. If he starts writing regularly for an American newspaper, I'm going to subscribe to that paper because I don't want to miss any of his work. You build that readership slowly over time, largely through vindicating trust with your choices and your judgment. I love it. I don't have the luxury of having a high profile mainstream birth where I know where all of that readership is coming from. Instead, I've had to sort of gather it together, hard scrabble across many, many years. They also will be interested in any books that I do, and there isn't a significant amount of overlap between that readership and my viewers on BookTube. So that's two audiences, really, and I want to please both of them. I'm thinking strongly about it. I know I say this every year, but I honestly do believe that 2024 is the year when I will self-publish a book of some kind. I can't help but think that the minute I do, the dam will break, and I will want to write 2 books a year. I can't help but think that will happen, especially if those books start to earn me a small amount of money. I can't imagine that I wouldn't do that. But those are the two things, the two updates that I wanted to give you, and then there's the siren call, the call of the sirens. I know that a lot of you have felt this. I am in the middle of the Trials of Esther. I am in roughly the middle point of where the story is. The story is about to start picking up momentum towards the hinge points, turning points that will rocket the thing to its end. It's not there yet, but it's all of the main movements are working towards that point. That point is never the halfway point of a book. It's usually just a little ways past the halfway point of the book. Mine will be a little ways half the halfway point of the book. And I know what's coming. I know what I need to do to get there. And so I'm extra vulnerable to the call of the sirens. And I think you are too. And if I must resist, you must resist. You must resist the call of the sirens. And in a writing case, that is the next project. The next project is always the call, the siren song. And I am feeling that. I know exactly what I'm going to write for Camp NaNoWriMo in April. I know exactly what I'm going to do. Don't know the working title of it yet, and I don't have a lot of the precise details, but I know the main details. I know exactly what I want to do. And naturally, that's a siren call, especially when you're at the point in the thing you're working on when you're still shot put shy distance of the hinge point. I am not close. Not legitimately close. I'm probably 5 or 6 days of writing away from the point when this will ignite and suddenly I will be sledding downhill. I'm not there yet, and I'm not right on the doorstep of there yet. So I'm naturally vulnerable to think, oh, okay, but what about that other project? What about the next project? Won't that be fun? I just want to, since I'm resisting the call of the sirens, I want to urge you to resist the call of the sirens. If you're feeling that now in the Steve Donahue Writing Collective or in any writing endeavor that you're doing, resist it. Resist it. Anyway, let's turn to the chat now. Since I don't have all the time in the world for the Stevestream, let's turn to the chat and see how you're all doing on this Friday night. That reading guy is the first up. Hey, where are the six-pack ab thumbnails? Instead, we have nude angels. Downgrade. They aren't angels, darling. They're sirens. They're from Homer. No, not ringing any bells. Sid says 8 videos, including books of the week and a Stevestream. You're really spoiling us. Well, or punishing you. Yes, I sat in front of the camera today, realized I've got a lot to talk about. I've got a lot to talk about with my imaginary BookTube friends, one subject after another. I swear, I could make 10 of them a day. But in addition to that, Friday is when the CPO, the Cedarburg Public Library Radio's Books of the Week goes up on their own YouTube channel, which is a conversation I have half an hour every week with my producer about new books. We do one work of nonfiction, one work of fiction, and a wild card. And it's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun. It crackles with the joy that we have in ribbing each other. So that, yeah, I wasn't counting that, but that's a lot of videos. You're right. That's a lot of videos. Let's see here. That reading guy is back after no Stevestream on the weekend, as was promised. It's about time. Yes, no Stevestream on the weekend, and no Stevestream last night. Even though I was really tempted, to have the State of the Union on one video monitor and Stevestream it live on the other. I didn't do it. I'm glad I didn't do it. That reading guy, us imaginary BookTube friends can be quite demanding. I know, you're all very demanding. Jenny Parks is here saying hello. Hamilton Thompson is here saying hello. Danielle, the Bluegrass Reader, is here saying hello to me and Freda. Freda is, of course, pressed next to me right there. We had a wonderful series of walks today. Just fantastic. Really tiring in a very pleasant way. Tiring the kind of pleasant way that you don't get to maintain once it's hot outside. That's tiring in an unpleasant way. This was just perfect. The only uh, shade of a negative when it comes to Freda tonight is that she's developing a hot spot on her butt. If you have dogs will know some of them are prone to this. My beagles never got them, but some dogs are prone to develop hot spots. That's the colloquial word for it, where suddenly one little patch, usually about a quarter in diameter, one little patch of skin is really bothering them, and they can't leave it alone. They usually chew it or scratch it or rub it raw, and it goes away. It's going to go away in a day or two. But Frida's prone to them. She has them once in a while, and she's got one growing now. She knows what it is. She knows that I don't want her to go at it, but that I'm not going to stop her. And I think in her head, in the back of her head, she knows that it's not permanent, that there's nothing to worry about. Still, any little thing when it's my bean. Let's see here. Uh, uh, Colin, who is the best comic book artist and why is it Walt Simonson? Why do people always ask questions in this way? Isn't that very 2015? It's not Walt Simonson. but if you're asking who is the best, you don't get to load the answer. It's, of course, Gil Kane. That reading guy says, so BookTube won't be affected next week. One video a day is too little, Freda. BookTube may be affected. I don't know. I have said from the beginning on this channel that if you have to make a choice, most people don't. They think they do, but they don't. If you have to make a choice between real life and BookTube, you have to choose real life. Of course, it was much more cavalier of me to say that 6 or 7 or 8 years ago than it is now, because I like all of you. I consider you part of real life. So, but nevertheless, I'm having a guest here at Hyde Cottage for a solid week, and we have a lot of plans. I don't know. I don't know. I doubt very much that it'll be 5 videos a day. Keep in mind, since we're on the doorstep of maybe that being interrupted, allow me to take the opportunity to point out once again that no one else anywhere on the platform makes 5 videos a day, much less on BookTube. No one else does that. It is a freakish overindulgence. If it goes down to 1 video every other day, I might point out gently that 1 video every other day is more than most booktubers make. Like 95% of most booktubers don't do that. Just saying. That's all. Let's see. Quaint Curious Volumes is here. I loved your video today. Just loved it. I could have warned you about that Amazon scam. I could have warned you about it. Unless you've been in the book, the lesson for things like the classics that book people were talking about or that you were talking about, the lesson that you did not say in your video, but that is definitely true, is if you want something like that, ask me. Ask me to get it for you rather than go through Amazon. Just ask me to get it for you. I will get a really nice edition and you won't worry about being tricked. But what's your question? Wait, another of your wealthy friends wants you to go to Italy to retrieve their wastrel Playboy son. No, I might, even if I wanted to step into a Patricia Highsmith novel, my traveling days are over. Or are they? Leo Percara, hello, Steve. Have you noticed that there's a lot of booktubers talking about the women's prize long list more than usual? Is the long list good now? I haven't checked, and I know that it's not good, so I haven't checked. I haven't even looked at it. That reading guy, we need your novels to be published. Well, novels, a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I've written more book reviews than anyone alive, and since on the internet is forever. I have learned the hard way that's not true, but there's a vast amount of them out there. If they could be collected, collated, and I were to write new material for them, those could be books, probably 10 books. There's a yearly roundup as in book form every year. All sorts of things in addition to fiction. That reading guy says, imagine being an editor at a mainstream publisher and trying to tell Steve he needs to change something. Might as well ask, have you read question? But it wouldn't the editor wouldn't even be the first person to do that. Whatever uppity agent I got would be the first person. They wouldn't be asking me. They'd be telling me. They'd be saying, well, this needs to change. We got to pull that out and move this around. Good luck to me if I want to say, okay, A, you're effing 15 years old. B, your job is to represent me to a publisher, not to edit me. And C, what have you written in your life ever? What have you written? Nothing. So, no, I wouldn't even get to an editor before I was. No, I don't. I have no interest in the process at all. I'm perfectly open to going at my own work, having it read strongly to make sure there are no typos, there are no egregious syntactical slip-ups or word repetition or anything like that. But I don't want anyone taking a big block of my prose, no matter what the prose is, and saying, well, I think if I work on this a bit, we can bring it into shape. Thanks very much. Go F yourself. I already know that it's in shape, I've been doing this for a long time. I have no interest in that process. I want the rest of it. But anyway, that reading guy says, you will be asked to include more BIPOC characters in Troy War. I think Troy War has only one BIPOC character. And he has a grim end. He has a very grim end. Jasper and Daly says, beta reader, what am I? Oh, the chat jumped. Well, we have to go to beta reader. What am I? A soy boy cuck. We are all alpha readers here. Yeah, there's a whole industry. Beta readers, sensitivity readers, second string beta readers. It's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. I certainly would not be doing it. David Sloan says, hey, J. Scott Phillips is here. If I had $1 every time Steve has mentioned monetization as well, the things that I'm talking about, the kind of thing I'm talking about, whether it's a self-publishing work or a subscription-based writing thing or anything, whatever it ends up being, or any number, C above, that's different from this. It would feel weird monetizing this. That would feel strange. But writing that I'm doing, that doesn't feel strange at all. It doesn't feel like monetization either. It feels like simple pay, like getting paid. Jasper Antonelli says, I would love to buy and read your books. Well, isn't that nice? Well, I would think that I don't mean to put the cart before the horse, but I would think that there are probably willing readers out there that I've garnered through BookTube, in addition to the willing readers that I've garnered just through publishing for all this time. Leo Percara says, also self-publishing could avoid your inevitable 15th cancellation. I've only been canceled once. Thank you very much. Hamilton Thompson, yes, publish a book. I'll be first in line at Ollie's to buy the UK hardcover of The Trials of Esther. I don't know if it would be The Trials of Esther. Wouldn't that be fun? I wonder how many. I'm sure that if it got into the hands of traditional critics, which of course it won't, they would say it was old-fashioned. I don't know. I don't know. Danielle says, I would love to buy and read your books. Very nice. Well Reed says, hey, Steve, your opinion is about the only one I would trust on this. What is the most trustworthy source for buying antique or rare books? I have no idea at all. You mean online, I assume. I have no idea at all. I don't care about antique or rare books. I would say, of course, call the Brattle Bookshop and have them. I don't know if they do custom-made searches. I have no idea, but they could at least search their third floor, which is full of antique and collectible books. I would say call the Brattle Bookshop in Boston and see if they can put you right. If they can't do it themselves, I don't know if they do searches for books. They might not. They know everybody in the industry, but they might not. I've never asked. But even if they don't do that, they'll certainly be able to give you trustworthy sources. Just call them tomorrow morning, 9 in the morning. Yuri, not Ure, is here. Hello, Steve. What's the book club's book of March, April? Are you still enjoying doing the book club? Well, the book club pick for March is The Mirror and the Light. I would hope you would know that, since we're two halves in by now. And April has yet to be announced. I am enjoying it very much so. Yes, very much so. I get the impression, the more I talk to people in Voxer and email, I get the impression that maybe I should warm up to Discord. Seems like that might be a way to enjoy this. The impression I get from everybody that I talk to is that Discord can be a little bit much, a little sticky, a little in your face at first. But once you domesticate it, there are all sorts of tools to domesticate it. Once you do that, it's a lot more bearable. I never did that, so I just had the negative impression. I think probably one of the tech things that I will do next week is to reestablish my Discord and join a bunch of other people's discourse just to see what it's like. And if that works, and if that's true, then maybe start a Discord for the Steve Tiberius Donahue Book Club. Maybe that would be the obvious next step. Sid says, books of the week is always a guaranteed bright spot in my week. It never leaves me without a smile. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Jeff and I poke fun at each other a lot, and it's a terrific chemistry. I love it. I think we went a little somber on the tone this week. So I'll make sure to fix that next week. I'll make sure that the picks next week lead us in a different direction. Let's see here. Jasper Antonelli, my cat is, and also I should mention, Sid, go and like and subscribe. I never even think to say that because I never say that on this channel. But the more we can show the powers that be at his library that Books of the Week is a success, the less vulnerable Books of the Week is to the whims of any kind of cancellation. So there, yes, do all the BookTube stuff there. You don't have to do any of the BookTube stuff here, but do all of it there. Let's see here. Jasper Antonelli, that's where we were. My cat is ominously hovering over my phone after hearing your voice. I think he heard your disparaging remarks about cats. Yes, they know. They know that I don't just play for the other team. I'm the captain of the other team. They don't like that. Oscar Sales Girl says it's Mike Mignola. If this is a reference to the greatest comic book artist of all time, I'm afraid not. It's Gil Kane. But Mike Mignola would be in the top 20. He wouldn't be ahead of George Perez. Are you nuts? He wouldn't be ahead of George Perez. Gil Kane is hardly ahead of George Perez, but he'd be up there. That reading guy says, is the guest David Murphy? That's a name I almost remember. Didn't David Murphy once have a BookTube channel? A very boring BookTube channel? I could swear I remember that. But who could live with David Murphy for a week? I ask you. Anti-Gaia, Biden totally showed up at the MAGA crowd last night. I was really angry about Marge and Mike Johnson, though. Yes, the American Fascist Party elements of the State of the Union last night were infuriating. There's a Senate dress code. You can be escorted off the stage. You can be escorted out of the hall if you break the Senate dress code. But if you're a fascist, you get to do it. You get to wear a Never Surrender T-shirt with your cult leader, 91 federal indictments, orchestrated an armed insurrection to overthrow the government. You can wear his face into the well of the House, and I guess the Sergeant at Arms will not eject you. You can yell. It just shriek out heckles at the State of the Union. I wanted really for the guy who just autistically yelled out, "You lie!" to President Obama during a State of the Union. I wanted him to be censured by his party and ejected from his party. I wanted him to lose his seat. Nothing was done at all. And now the president gets heckled. Fortunately, I would like to think in an alternate reality where people are paying attention, I would like to think that Joe Biden not only proved last night that he can handle a heckling crowd, but also that I would like to think that last night's State of the Union puts to rest forever this stupid question asked 5 times a day in the New York effing Times about whether or not he's too old. I'd like to think this would change the narrative in the right-wing podcast that David Murphy introduced me to that take as their starting point that he is enfeebled and drooling on himself and a Manchurian president. I'd like to think this would put to rest that. What do they think this guy was? An animatronic Biden? It was a masterful performance. I'd like to think we could just stop talking about whether or not he's too old to be president. Anyway, Well, Reed says, is Deb the guest? Deb? For an entire week? Art thou mad? That's where cooties come from. Jasper Antonelli said something. I'm sure it was fascinating, but now it's gone. Let's go and find him again. There we go. So next week won't be 5 videos a day. What about 6? See, I think I have spoiled you people. I want to issue the reminder again. 5 videos a day is utterly freakish. No one on the platform, not just BookTube, but anywhere, no one does that. And BookTubers certainly don't do that. 1 video a week. Imagine if I did 1 video a week. Now think about your favorite BookTubers. Mike LeCavon makes 1 video a day. But who it might be one video a day. It might even not be that. Uh, Danielle says, I had a boxer mix that used to get hot spots on her undercarriage, especially when it was hot and humid out. Hope Freda feels better soon. Well, if you know what it's like. They feel just fine, except for when these things bother them, and then they just can't leave them alone. I'm sure that she'll be fine. I'm sure that she will be. When she had these originally, the first time that I noticed that this happened to her, I thought about uh, running wrapping ice cubes in a face cloth, running in a really cold water, and then just pressing that against her. And she hated it, just hated it. So we don't do that. Instead, she just had to make do. Uh, Auntie Gaia says, Steve, did you ever like the Michael Dobbs novels? Oh, that's kind of ringing a bell. What is that? That's kind of ringing a bell. Michael Dobbs. I'm not grabbing it right now. David Adams says, I'm looking forward to watching Cixin Liu, The Three-Body Problem, which has been adapted for Netflix. Is there a science fiction novel you'd like to see adapted to film? No, not in the 21st century. No, because it wouldn't be adapted to film. It would be adapted to Twitter. And I have no interest in that whatsoever, none whatsoever. Choco says, hi, Steve and Freda. Have you ever read any good YA books this year? Okay, you pulled that out at the last minute. That was about to be a have you read question, but instead it turns out to be a completely legitimate question. I have not read any good YA novels yet this year. I keep telling myself the year is young. I've read scarcely anything so far this year that was good of any kind. So I've read a lot of books so far in 2024. I think I've read probably 3 or 4 that were notably good. So maybe we're just off to a slow start. That's all. Richardson Reads is here. Steve is still doing videos. Interesting. Yes, I'm still doing videos. I made a blast of videos and now a Stevestream, but the Stevestream is not going on forever, just till 10 past the hour. Sid says, you often mention how rare it is for an author to write 2 great novels. Do you think any of them have managed to do it thrice? You mean 3 times, do you? Maybe Pynchon with his 3 Doorstoppers? No. Against the Day is really, really involving, but it is incredibly self-indulgent. It's no, not Pynchon. He would probably be one of the ones who would come the closest, but I don't know of an author who's done it 3 times. No, not where I'm not talking about just a great novel. I'm talking about something that's in the world category of great novels. Something that transcends its nationality, transcends its genre, and is just towering. I don't know of anyone who's done that 3 times. No, not off the top of my head anyway. That reading guy says your old-fashioned fiction would confuse current readers because your novel will actually have a proper ending. Oh, the ending to the Trials of Esther. If you're not smiling, if you're not wanting to hug the person next to you, I have not done my job, and I think you will. I think you will want to do that. Matt Sheridan says, greetings, Stephen Bean. Yes, here we are. Jasper Antonelli says, I saw a picture of Ulysses S. Grant today and thought it was Mark Richardson. And Mark says, ouch. Matt Sheridan, Mark is getting craggier with time. It's true. Matt Sheridan says, speaking of Grant, do you prefer Chernow's book or Gene Edward Smith? Gene Edward Smith, but Chernow's book is really good. It's really good. If you only have access to one and not the other, you aren't going wrong with either one of them. I think Gene Edward Smith is better, but just by a bit. That was neck and neck. I was worried about the Chernow Grant book. I didn't know which way it was going to go. His Hamilton book is so great, and his Washington book is so bad that I didn't know. Okay, is this next book, what's it going to be? Is it the light side or the dark side of the force? Jenny Park says, I want Odd Dog, Troy War, and a collected works of Ex Libris, please. I don't think you want Troy War. You might think you do, but I don't think you want Troy War. It is as black as a black hole and violent. Oh my God. I don't know that you would want it. Richardson Reed says, I look more like Pierce Brosnan, I'll have you know. Did Pierce Brosnan die? I didn't know that. That reading guy says, I noticed you missed last week's Books of the Week. Hope everything was all right. Everything's fine with me. My producer got sick, so I fired him. And then he came crawling back to the back door of my bungalow on the hill overlooking Topanga Canyon, begging for his job back. So I said, okay, fine. Just don't get sick again. Jenny Parks says, Jenny Parks, where'd you go? I believe Steve's sidekick was ill. Yes, my sidekick was ill. That reading guy, David Murphy, owes his subscribers a Hayek read along. No, he doesn't. No one deserves a Hayek read along. no one's offended that badly. No one does. Jasper Antonelli says, I saw a surreal thread on 4chan of a young photo of Steve from his Instagram. People were calling him hot. I am not on 4chan. Please. But on Instagram, I have occasional photos of myself when young with beagles, even a couple when traveling. And it always amazes me when people say, I just see myself always having been homely. And that was not the reaction of a lot of those early pictures. But surely you're joking, Jasper. Surely I'm not on 4chan. And also, are you implying that I'm not hot now? Matt Sheridan, Biden killed it last night. I completely agree. He did. This was a loud, passionate, semi-angry call to the better angels of American nature on the cusp of what could be the end of everything. It was not just a fantastically dramatic speech. It was also a brave one. It was a valiant speech. It was. I thought he killed it. I agree. Jasper says on the literature section of the site, I don't believe that I'm on 4chan. I can't look or I'll lose the chat. But I don't believe that I'm there. No one talks about me on 4chan. No one talks about me anywhere. Let's see here. Jenny Parks, he's only 28, Jasper. How young was he in the picture? That reading guy says, I would make 5 videos in a day if I got books in the mail, went to the Brattle regularly, and read 15 hours every day. Well, you see, you're probably kidding just a bit, but you see what I'm saying. A normal booktuber, they read for half an hour, 45 minutes before they fall asleep at night. And the reason they fall asleep at night while they're reading is because they worked all day long, or they went to class all day long, or it's date night with the spouse, or they've got kids to peel out of one set of dirty clothes and pour into another set of dirty clothes, make some broccoli that they're going to stare at and not eat. Those things take time and effort. I don't have any of those things, so yeah, I have a lot of bookish content to convey. Jenny Park says only 15 hours, lightweight. Sid says, can you recommend a run by Gene Colan for someone just getting into superhero comics who has never read anything by him? Depending on what kind of superhero comics you like. He did a run, his second run. So not the Doctor Strange in a skin tight spandex costume with a blue mask over his face. The run after that was Gene Colan doing Doctor Strange, and the key with Colan is you want to look for Tom Palmer as his inker. So if you don't want to do superhero comics, you could do the long run that he did on Tomb of Dracula with Tom Palmer. It's great. But if you want to stick to superhero comics, and maybe Doctor Strange is close enough, you could do one of his great runs on Doctor Strange. Or if you don't mind tight inking, if you don't mind superhero comics, he did a really fantastic run on Daredevil. You could go for that. I don't know the issue numbers off the top of my head. They would be expensive to collect, I would imagine. I am not a fan at all of either of his runs on the Avengers. The second run that he did on the Avengers, 20 years after his first run on the Avengers, was just plain bad. He was losing his eye, his skill, his precision by then. He was an old man by then. But the earlier run I don't particularly like either. So I would stick with Tomb of Dracula definitely, or Doctor Strange, or maybe the classic 60s run on Daredevil. Very different Gene Colan from what he does when he gets to do Atmosphere. Let's see. Sorry, that was a very in the weeds answer. Christina says, I'm reading Truman by McCullough and I'm loving it, but it makes me nostalgic for a time period I never lived through because it appears that politics were less divisive, politicians more noble. Yes, that is true. It is not an illusion. That is absolutely true. Nothing could be worse than what we're seeing now. We're seeing rats fighting over a carcass right now. And Joe Biden's speech last night was Joe Biden defiantly saying it need not be that way. Defiantly saying that. I don't know why when he yelled that it's totally unacceptable for a former U.S. president to side with the murderous dictator of Russia against NATO. I don't know why he didn't. Had I been up there, I would not have had the self-control not to simply look at the fascist faction, the red hat faction in the crowd, and say, "Aren't you Americans? How can you support this?" He didn't do that. I'm glad he didn't do it. I wouldn't have been able to resist, though. Tolstoy 111. Hi, Steve. Do you like Snow Country / Kawabata? Almost asking me. You're providing me with the author when I know who the author is. You're almost asking me if I've read it. I like it very much. Never read it, of course, in the original, but and the one I read a translation of it in an old mass market paperback years ago. That struck me, that indefinable feeling you get when you feel that the translator is in the way, that the translator is the problem. That struck me. I'd like to see hit uh, superstar Japanese translator, like we have Ellsworth doing Dumas, like Peviar and Volkonsky doing all the Russians. I'd love it if we could have a celebrity translator for Japanese stuff. I would tell them to start with Kawabata. And I wonder how different it would be. Auntie Gaia says Michael Dobbs wrote the House of Cards novels. I don't know that I've ever read them. I know of them. I can picture their covers in my head, the UK mass markets, but I don't know that I've ever read them. Matt Sheridan says, "Do you like any of Alexandra Bracken's novels?" Don't know that name. Tolstoy 111, multiple great novels, Bleak House, Little Dorrit, Great Expectations. So there, yeah, okay. I figured somebody would go there. uh, oh, Mark says, Steve's comments and emails are more well written than 99% of the books published today. Can't imagine how engrossing his novel would be. Well, thank you. Isn't that nice of you? Do I email you? Uh, I don't. I don't. I email a lot every day, and I love it. But that's very nice of you. Uh, let's see here. Tim's Too Many Books. The ending of Michael Dobbs' House of Cards was altered after the UK TV adapter decided the ending wasn't good enough. You need a first edition to get the original ending. How interesting. Jasper Antonelli, I've been watching Columbo because it's March Mystery Madness. Do you like it? I love all the great guest stars. I like Columbo. A friend of mine in the publishing industry has a famous quip that one of the main imports of anything made for film in the 1970s is the material shittiness of the 70s. And I kind of sort of see that. Columbo indulges in slowness. Now, I know that we're conditioned now in the 21st century not to want any of that. Everything's got to be just this incredibly frenetic pace. But even so, even given the period, Columbo indulges in it. I mean, how I like the show, but there are innumerable scenes that consist for 6 or 7 minutes of Peter Falk schlumping up to a payphone, futzing around for coins, putting the coin in, and then dialing the phone. We have to watch all of that, and that gets just a little bit. It feels padded at times. It feels very padded, and also, let's be honest here. When Columbo has this big, elaborate, extremely contrived reveal at the end, almost none of those reveals would hold up in court. I know that we're supposed to think that, but almost none of them would. Uh, let's see here. Madman Gone Mad. I've just Googled images of young Steve Donahue, and they're all in black and white. Yes, they're all an Irish jockey from the Victorian era. Sid says, note to self, never use thrice again. Speaking of Pynchon, nobody uses thrice. Dude bros use it. Dude bros use it. So don't use it. It's bad. I'm almost through Gravity's Rainbow right now, and oddly enough, I found it got better as it went along. Still a very difficult read, though. Yes. Well, if you're almost through with it, then you got past the one hurdle that Pynchon intentionally put there to stop people from reading the book. He wanted to make sure that he had people's attention and that they were committed to reading the book. So he put in a scene, not an inconsiderable way in, but not right at the beginning either, that was designed to repel casual readers. And you've obviously got past it. So that's great. I'm sure that you remember the scene. It involves eating something that most people don't eat. It's described in elaborate detail. But also the fate that awaits Seaman Pig Bodine is nothing casual either. If you got past that, then sure you're going to enjoy it to the end. I wonder what your reread will be. I wonder what you'll think when you reread it. Jasper, I am not joking. There really was a picture of you up. You were indeed mentioned frequently from the very few times I check. I think a lot of them watch you. That's incredible. 4chan. Oh, maybe I'm going to have to make a little foray and see what they're saying. Do they hate me? You're saying they like me. Wouldn't that figure that I'm here? Hang on a second. I've got a little bit of a tech avalanche here. Wouldn't it be extra ironic that I'm hated by all the good and proper folks on BookTube, but I'm liked by all the weirdos on 4chan? Wouldn't that be something? Oh my god, that would be so fitting. In a way, that would be so fitting. uh, let's see here. Scotty is back. We seem to be blob free on both coasts at the moment, but isn't there something scary coming your way? It certainly looks scarier this afternoon than it did even this morning. I'm checking the blobs because I have a guest coming in, and it looks now like the guest and the blob are going to be in a neck and neck finish to see who gets to Logan Airport first. Let's see here. Notice this is not the iPad. This is my Kindle Fire Max 11, I think it's called. Kindle Max Fire or Kindle Fire Max 11. I love it. Just absolutely. I've been using it and just love it. I have an enormous amount of space left on it. The memory in it is expandable. I haven't even done that. Just in the native memory, I have an enormous amount of room left on it. It's as smooth as butter. It's got this magnetized case that is not going to pop off, whereas it's not within reach. But my iPad, I have the magnetic keyboard case. And if I grab the case, if I grab the keyboard when it's folded across the screen of the iPad, it pops off the machine. This is absolutely stuck on there. It's not going anywhere. But let's try the blob watch, because you're right. Something big. Although I don't know about nothing on the coast. Isn't LA getting snow? Didn't LA get snow today? But let's take a look at the whole country, because I think you're entirely right. Yes, look at this. Oh my god. What is? Oh no, we're losing the contrast. This screen is on. You just can't see it. Oh no. Well, what about if we press the iPad into service here? Because you can usually see the iPad. Let's see. There is a monster thing coming to the eastern seacoast. Looks fast moving. I don't think it will be here for long. But let's give the satellites time to catch this up, and see if you can see it here. Yes, you can. Okay, look at that thing. So the East Coast right now, clear. Today it was clear as a bell. The West Coast, I'm not seeing the snow. It did snow in LA. But then we have this thing. If we zoom in on New England, look at that, headed for New England. Just gigantic. And no idea whether or not this part of it here, the brighter the colors, the more intense the storm. Is that going to make its way up the coast? That's snow or sleet. And you can see on the periphery here, there's snow and sleet. I don't know. Right now, all the forecasts are saying that is going to be here on Sunday. So we will see. I'm a little bit curious in a chromatic kind of way why you can't see this. Is it brightness? Let's see if that is the case. I love this thing so much. I just love it so much. No, let's turn up the brightness here and see if that makes a difference. Although I guess if I make it more bright, that's going to make it harder to see. Oh no, there we go. There we go. Yeah, so this hasn't been updated quite as recently as the one on the iPad, but even so, that is a huge system, and that is headed this way. So that's a little bit disturbing. Let's see here. Tim's Too Many Books. The new ending of House of Cards allowed Michael Dobbs to write 2 best-selling sequels. See, I don't know any about this. I don't know any about the history of this thing. Did these books ever have an American publisher? I don't know if they did or not. That reading guy says, so you recommend you cancel date night and read instead? No, I'm in enough trouble with all significant others anyway. I'm always in trouble with significant others. So no, don't cancel date night. Mark Brenner. Hi, Steve. Can you recommend a great secondhand bookshop in New York? Something like the Brattle, but I'm sure it'll be Brattle Light. Well, the legendary one is the Strand Bookstore in New York City, which has outdoor sale carts and has the legendary 10 miles of books on the inside. It's the only used bookstore I've ever been to that had a line waiting to get in. It's every bit as good as Build. I haven't been there in a long time. Maybe that's going to change. J. Scott Phillips. Speaking of Gene Colan, I came to Marvel Comics during his stint on Iron Man in Tales of Suspense. Love that stuff. So yeah, I blanked on Iron Man because the Iron Man is so boring to me that I blanked on it. Of course, yeah, Gene Colan did a really good stint on Iron Man. Really, really defining stuff. Richardson reads, can we please talk about James Russell Lowell's The Bigelow Papers? Oh, God. Why are you still up? Gandhi Angles, Hannah's review of the new biography of Carson McCullers is spot on. Yeah, ain't she good? I've got Hannah running reviews at Open Letters. I've got Joe Spivey running reviews at Open Letters. Yep. That reading guy says, speaking of superstar translators, when will you be publishing your translation of the Venerable Bede? Well, that's another thing that I could do. If I got self-publishing for money up and running as an ongoing thing, goal number 1 would be to learn how to do it. Goal number 2 would be to get it to a point where it's paying its own expenses, where I'm not making any more money than what I need to get a new cover, new ISBNs, to get another book into print, where it is sustaining itself. And goal number 3, of course, would be to make a profit. A small profit, but a profit all the same. And one of the things that I could do, one of the original things I could do would be original translations. Absolutely, original translations. Instead of belly aching about them, I could take not Bede's famous work, but maybe some of his many other works and translate them into English with an introduction and notes. The thought has crossed my mind, believe you me. What Bede would be high on that list, very much so. Eusebius would be high on that list. Froissart would be high on that list, and also the Enchiridion Militatis Christianis, the Handbook of a Christian Prince by Erasmus, would be on that list. Tolstoy 111, the Peviar translation of Three Musketeers is wonderful, and I speak as someone who finds the Russian ones he does with his wife clunky. Sid says, just read the Makioka Sisters and was surprised not to find a newer English translation. Great book, though. I loved how he fleshed out the characters. Yeah, it's a great book. And I don't know what's going on with great Japanese writers. I really don't. There's the American book reading public has never been more open or more hungry for great new translations of anything. They read more literature and translation now than they ever have. And yet, where is the person writing, making new, significant new, annotated, introduced translations of Mishima or Tanizaki or Kawabata? Where are these people? To say nothing of the great Japanese classics. There should be lots of them. It's one of the great literary traditions of the world. Why is it that we're not seeing that? Anti-Gaia says, Dobbs also wrote weird biography of Nixon called King Richard. Ryan says, Steve, your reflection on what happens to great but not all world writers like Martin Cruz Smith yesterday really got me thinking. In 50 years, will anyone know Arkady Renko or D.L. Pasco? I bet no. I bet they won't. More to the point, far more pressing for the modern literary world. Will anyone know Rachel Cusk? Will anyone know Elena Ferrante? Will anyone know Martin Amis? I don't know. I don't know the answer to those questions. Let's see here. Gandhi Angles, what breed of dog do you recommend for apartment living? There's no such thing. I don't want to get into. I don't want to lecture here. I don't want to browbeat at all. But there's no such thing. There's only the happiness of the dog, not the breed of the dog. And the happiness of the dog doesn't depend on the size of where it lives any more than your happiness does. Are you going to give the dog plenty of exercise? Are you going to give the dog plenty of love? And are you going to give the dog plenty of company? Dogs are intensely communal species. If you're only going to get one dog, then it wouldn't matter what size the dog is. If you leave that one dog alone, completely unstimulated in an apartment for 8 or 9 hours a day, there's no magic breed that's going to like that. That's solitary confinement for anybody. So it isn't a question of the size of the apartment or the size of the dog. People always say that. They always say, "Well, I can't get." I've got a friend whose dog desperately needs to be rehomed. I don't want him to go into a shelter, but he's 40 pounds and I live in a small apartment, so I can't take him. Yes, you can. It's not a question of the size of the apartment. It's a question of how committed you are. It's an extensive conversation. If at all possible, more than one dog, and if at all possible, if you are not home for huge stretches of time, then don't get a dog. Simple as that. Uh, Game of Authors says, will you be reading the 9th Lou Archer novel by Ross McDonald for March Mystery Madness? I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Lou Archer series. Lou Archer, what is the 9th book? I know this, don't I? I think I have Lou Archer lined up. Don't I? Let's take a look here while we get Sirens to serenade us. I could swear I have the Lou Archer book as a potential for March Mystery Madness. How funny you should mention it. What's the name of the 9th one? Oh, it's got to be on here. It's got to be. Well, just because everything in the world is on here, but also I thought I lined that up. I thought I specifically did. Oh, I'll never find it now. But yes, in answer to your question, I can't find the book. But in answer to your question, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now I want to. Now I want to know which one it is. There's so many. Siberian Dilemma, we did. Murder on the QE2, we did. We haven't done Kate Scarpetta. Haven't done the Dresden Files. Should I do the Dresden Files? Oh, it's not on here. Well, anyway, that's one that I did consider. That would be a lot of fun to revisit it. See how it strikes me now. So yeah, that is definitely possible. I don't know if there'll be any March Mystery Madness videos next week. Okay, I don't know if there'll be any. This business of 5 videos a day on every subject under the sun might pause next week. I don't know. I want to stress, in the eventuality that it does, that no one does that. No one does that but me. So maybe a little slack would be good. Colombian Thunder says the slowest thing I've ever seen was Nicole winding Renfin's Too Old to Die Young. It was ridiculous. Don't know what that is. Ryan says, also finished Gravity's Rainbow recently. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Left me exhausted. Now on to Ulysses and Infant Jest to be accepted by the real reader. Trying to get me goat, are you? That reading guy, oh my, Steve, is the influencer on 4chan. Who would have thought? I don't believe it. I'm going to have to check 4chan to see this business of people perving over a young Steve. It's so weird. That would be so weird to do. I think there's a total that I know of 3 pictures in existence of me when I was traveling. I never took a camera with me. I almost never traveled with anybody who had a camera. I think there are 3 pictures. There's one that I know of. I don't own it. I don't know that there's ever a copy of it. I know who owns it, of me on a camel. And then 2 others. There's one of me on a train that I posted on Instagram. When I'm a little bit younger than I am now. Let's see here. Tolstoy 111. Is it dude bro to refer to 2 book sequences as a duology? Yes. Talk about a word nobody uses. It's not as bad as thrice, but it's bad. Also, another dead certain dude bro giveaway, using female as a noun. Female as an adjective. If you refer to a female human as a female, then you're referring to breeding stock. You're referring to something that you're signaling with your vocabulary you do not consider human. Let's see here. Jasper says, will you read the 9th Lord Peter Wimsey novel, loving your MMM series, The Nine Tailors? I don't think I could legitimately skip a 9th book in a series that actually has the word 9 in the title. I think I will probably have to do that. Plus, it's always fun to revisit, to meet up with Lord Peter again. Sid says, that scene in Gravity's Rainbow sent me looking for cute dog videos online in lieu of therapy. Yes, there's one baptism of fire scene in Gravity's Rainbow where you realize, oh my God, he's not just going to mention that this happened, he's going to describe it. And if that doesn't repulse you, nothing will. And then later on, hundreds of pages later, you get another scene. It isn't the same thing, but it's equally repulsive. Unfortunately, much as I love the book, unfortunately, those two scenes absolutely mark it out as a book that does not want any woman readers. Unfortunately, I Tolstoy 111 says, "Once, twice, thrice times a lady." You people are sick. Ryan says, "Loving Joe Spivey's channel. Like you, there are no edits, and he expresses real feelings, PC or not." Yep, he's an indefatigable reader. Some people are just. I think there's some people who are just a natural at this. I mean, anybody. I want to listen to anybody, whether they're natural or not. I want to know how your reading's going. Whether you're natural or not, I'm still going to listen. But some people, yeah, are infinitely more entertaining than others. And imagine the bouquet of roses that Joe Spivey's family would be willing to give to BookTube because we're taking the brunt of all of his opinionizing instead of them. Jasper says, "I believe 4chan does like you well enough. That Unreal Press weird fiction anthology you received last year was edited and published by a group of people on 4chan." Well, I would think on some level they would like me, for a couple of reasons. Maybe not the ones they would like. I think probably that for a large amount of 4chan's principal demographic is young men between the ages of 18 and 25, and they're my people. They're my peeps. I know them. I understand them. I like them. I take them seriously, but I'm not trying to grift them. That's got to be refreshing for the more self-aware ones who know perfectly well that every other person out there they see online is trying to grift them. J. Scott Phillips, "Snow in Los Angeles, there must still be one elephant out of place." I could swear I saw film footage on Instagram. Sid says, "Experiencing Erasmus through your translation would be incredible." I did a translation of, I think it was Froissart. I did just a bit of a translation for my old literary blog, Steve Reads, and people went nuts about it. People went absolutely nuts about it. All the comments that I got were, "What is this? I read this in school in the Penguin translation. It wasn't anywhere near like this. Who did this translation? This is fantastic." Uh, I think a lot of translators lose their way. That's all. I would like to promise to my readers that I would not. Uh, Erasmus, I don't talk about him on my channel, but I would love to translate him for you. Faisal says, "I'm currently reading God, a biography by Jack Miles from your recommendation and really enjoying it. I was wondering if his book on God and the Quran is as good." Well, you would know if you Googled whether or not I've ever reviewed God in the Quran. I have. I thought it was a failure. I thought it was a failure. God, a biography, is tremendous. Jesus, the follow up to God, is also tremendous. God, a biography, you could easily see is looking straight at the Judaic tradition. Christ, Jesus, is obviously aiming straight at the Christian tradition. I thought God in the Quran pulled its punches. And I got the distinct feeling that the reason why it did is because it was afraid. And that's, if I'm right about that, that's really, really bad. I don't think it was the author suddenly losing his inspiration. Richardson Reads is back. Good Lord, man. Isn't it past your bedtime? Don't you have to be up in the morning to wrangle with city prosecutors or counselors or whatnot? Okay, how about Luck of the Roaring Camp? Oh, oh my God. No, we want Keisha's remake of Luck of the Roaring Camp. Uh, Diane Loftus. "Good evening, Steve. I shared Joe Spivey's first review to X. Hope it helps. I know it's not the ideal platform. Still, it's a well-written book review." I agree, it is. I would be doing a lot of this sharing myself, but right about the same time that he started writing book reviews for me, my Twitter account got hijacked and then tanked, nuked, and I'm locked out of it. So I'm working around it now to try and promote book reviews there. As soon as I have the workaround completely done to my satisfaction, which will happen next week, I will blare it on my channel so you can all go and find it. But in the meantime, I'm not doing much of anything. Gandhi Angle says, "But I am very happy. I agree that it is a well-written book review. It has always been an extreme source of pride for me to be the first to publish people who are obviously destined for other things. That is a deep source of pride. And I feel it every time it happens, not just Joe Spivey. I feel it every time it happens, and my instincts about it are never wrong. Never. They are never wrong. If you do it. If you try it and everyone that sees the results says this is fantastic, and then you decide, I'm going to walk away. I can't make you do that. I can't stop you from doing that. But if you stick at it, my instincts are never wrong on that. But anyway, Gandhi Angle says some apartments have dog breed restrictions. I'd be home to give the dog plenty of attention. Well, okay. Yes. The question that came up earlier in the chat, I can't remember if it was you asked it or not. The question that came up earlier in the chat was, are there dog breeds that are good for small apartments? This is different. If your apartment has restrictions, there's nothing I can do about that, and there's no way I can know that. But okay, fine. If your apartment has restrictions, well, then you have to obey those restrictions, obviously, or move to a place that doesn't have restrictions. But other than that, no, there is no magic breed that is okay with being completely idle and bored in a space with no interaction with anyone living for a huge chunk of time every day. So knowing that you would be there all day to give attention is wonderful. That's all that's needed. Jasper says, I'm surprised nobody has translated Mishima. Some of his books are so high in demand that they're hundreds of dollars used. Yeah, and there are a lot of it. I could be wrong about this, but I seem to remember there are quite a few books of his that have never been translated. Oh, where did we go here? J. Scott Phillips was next. Scotty, where did you go? Oh my God, where did you go? What are all you people doing here on a Friday night? That's what I want to know. Oh my God, I've completely lost track of the chat. Sorry about this. We were at Gandhi Angles for Dogs. There we go. I'm surprised nobody no, okay. J. Scott Phillips. Speaking of ninth books in mysteries, I read the ninth Gideon Fell novel last year, The Crooked Hinge. It would be interesting to hear your take on that one. Yeah, Gideon Fell's gone right by me. I don't really like those novels. I might try them again for March Mystery Madness. Still has plenty of time left in it. I also want to stress that there are plenty of days left in March, even if I miss my next week entirely. There's still plenty of days left. Richardson Reed says, worst thing is I don't know what 4chan is. No, you don't. No, you don't. J. Scott Phillips, I just looked up 4chan Steve pick. It's you wearing a Michigan t-shirt. You're kidding me. You can't be serious that I'm on 4chan. Why would I be on 4chan? Why? Are they watching now? Aren't they all Trump fans? If they're on 4chan and they're Trump fans just to cheese off normal people, they need to knock that off right away. They think they're going to find it a really fun adventure to live in a fascist dictatorship. They're nuts. Anyway, Jasper, I've just sent you a link to the archive thread of your face. Was so surprised to see it. They're definitely weird over there. That is the strangest thing. How would they even know that I exist? Tim's Too Many Books, at the risk of provoking derision, do you have any opinion of Rita Mae Brown's Mrs. Murphy book? I don't have any opinion of it one way or another. Certainly no derision. J. Scott Phillips, speaking of Erasmus, I always enjoy that painting of him over your shoulder. Is it a Freda? Yes, it is. Although a number of people have commented that today had two Erasmus portraits. Today's videos have two Erasmus portraits. This one and the one in the little book room, which is not the same portrait. It's a different artist and a different age, different setting. People pointed that out. It was kind of funny. A couple of people who emailed me said, do you have a portrait of Erasmus in every room? Tolstoy 111, I'm slowly making my way through Tale of Genji, and its modernity really is striking. Some of its modernity, yes. Other parts of it, the 21st century really doesn't like. I always worry that Genji's going to be canceled. Michael Lombardo, hello. Is a reshuffling of the bookcases still on the agenda next week? Good thing you'll have an extra pair of hands to assist the surly one. The surly one will not be helping. My surly houseboy does not move books. But I will have an extra pair of hands, and it's going to be a massive, seismic redoing of everything and a massive influx of books, too. So just massive. Looking forward to it. Really looking forward. Really hoping this massive freak storm headed for Boston at the exact same time as my guest doesn't close the airport or something ridiculous like that. Tolstoy 111, the 4chan pic I'm seeing is Gilded Age Steve buying his first Model T. Yes, the Steve Donahue was a jockey, made headlines all over Europe when he bought a car. He's synonymous with riding horses to fame and fortune. He bought a car. Anti-Gaia says, also let us not forget that while Caffeine Joe makes a booming speech for 50 minutes, Trump is literally saying total nonsense and trailing off. He can barely speak. I don't know why that has not penetrated. Actually, I do know, because all of American mainstream media, all of the mainstream press that calls themselves left-leaning, and all of the mainstream newspapers, especially the New York Times, will not stop promoting the idea that Biden is a doddering old man. They will not stop doing it. It's not true. Watch two speeches side by side, any two speeches side by side. Trump, as you say, Trump can barely speak. He mutters. It's all very low. He's just sort of grousing to himself in front of a microphone. He's peaked and sweating. He doesn't know where he is. He can't get any references right. That's not just once or twice. That happens all the time. And yet, the mainstream media will not let go of this idea that Joe Biden is on death's doorstep. I would like to think that last night's State of the Union would shut them the F up on that stupid point. But I don't think it will. I bet it won't. J. Scott Phillips, there's also a portrait of Erasmus on 4chan wearing a Boston t-shirt. Omnipotent Poobah is here. I must admit that 4chan pic looks like Uncle Steve, although the chap in the photo has hair, so maybe not. Leo Percara, there's a booktuber called Marie, who is an awkward nerd who looks like a magazine model. So she's the female version of Steve. She read Gravity's Rainbow, maybe the only woman on BookTube to do so. That reading guy, which James is better author, James Michener or James Elroy? Apples and oranges. No way to compare the two. They're not working in the same ball, in the same sandbox at all. Richardson reads, Cripes, Boston gets 2 inches of snow and it's a disaster. Wimpy Southerners. I'm not talking about the accumulation. I myself don't believe it'll be anything but rain. All I'm talking about is the timing. This thing is huge on the radar. It's huge, and it's headed straight for Boston on the day when I'm having a guest fly in. That's the only thing I'm worried about. Matt Sheridan's Trump seems like he has TBI a lot of the time, of some kind. TBI of some kind. I'm not sure what TBI means here. I don't know. I'm thinking of one abbreviation. It's certainly not the right one. But I watch his speeches. I want to be able to say no matter what that I did. And they're unbelievable. They're unbelievable. When you see them in clips, that does not do justice to what they're like. They are a mush-mouthed, pea-brained mass of gripey, sleepy, old, bitter grandpa grievances. They are so repellent when you watch them. They're full of hatred. They're full of retribution. It is. Joe Biden has been saying this for 8 years now, so it's nothing new. He has been saying for 8 years. He saw it before anybody. He saw it before his own comms team did. But this is a battle between the future of America and the past of America. This is a battle for the soul of the country. I'm very glad that he took that tone in last night's speech. That's the speech that he was doing. I'm anyway. Sid says, recently finished War and Peace and really hated that second epilogue, but calling it self-indulgent really feels heretical. What are your thoughts? It was a weird end to such an amazing book. Yeah, the ending is infamous. It was totally self-indulgent. Someone, the wife, someone should have told him just to cut it. Or told him we won't run this in book form if we don't cut it. You don't have to cut it voluntarily. Just say I did it, but I'm not going to print this with this thing at the end. Ryan says, are you considering the 9th P.D. James Dalglish book? It's the one in the publishing house. I was considering, but I love it so much that I'm kind of liking breaking new ground here. I guess I've never talked about P.D. James. I don't think I have on the channel, so maybe so. But I'm leaning more towards things that show me new things, although a little bit less so now. Last night's read along those lines was a little bit on the boring side. Andrew McDonald says there were some amazing bookshelf pictures full of Beatles books posted on World Book Day. That's a subject the publisher will seemingly never stop mining. Yes, I didn't do anything on World Book Day. I feel terrible about that. Now you people will think I don't like books. That reading guy, I left for a bit. Was there any discoveries of Steve's 4chan confirmed? I don't I don't believe it myself. I will check when the Stevestream is over, which actually we do have to bring this to an end. Let's go to 8:30. But I do have to bring this to an end. I have a few things to do, and I wanna check on Freda's hotspot and see that she's okay. Uh, that reading guy, and there's a new Beatles book coming out, right? Maybe those were some of the pictures on World Book Day. I don't know if I can find it on the tablet. There's a new, kind of an oral history of the Beatles, their own interviews over time. L I don't know if it'd be any good, but that is coming out as well. That reading guy oh, no, that reading guy, okay, which James do you enjoy more? No, that doesn't really work. No. James Michener or James Ellroy. Oh my god. No, 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 no. They are completely different. Both, I think, when both of them are great, when each one of them is at the top of his game, each one of them is incredible. But it's completely different kinds of incredible, so it doesn't really work. And that reading guy wants to know, are you a fan of Bertrand Russell? I am, largely. A life largely wasted in the wilds of philosophy, but when he wrote about other things, he was very cogent. And there you go. We're at the end of the comments. And that means the end of the Steve stream. We don't have to go to 8:30. We can wrap things up now. Jack O'Hara says, "Did you scream and shout at Beatles concerts back in the day?" No, no, I did not. Uh, that reading guy says only 70 people in the chat. Only he says for a chat that's completely blurry of an old man nattering about all kinds of random things with smallpox scars from 1872, but only 70 people. Well, 70 people is fine by me. This was lots and lots of fun, but nevertheless, I do have to go. I might as well wrap this up a little early since there are only 70 people in the chat. Only uh, more of a Stones kid then. No, no, I'm afraid not. I think you're omitting Led Zeppelin, and that's the problem. To say nothing of the Doobie Brothers uh, and the like. Uh, Normal people have things to do after all, says Leo Percara. They do, and yet 70 of you showed up here. That's wonderful. Omnipotent Poobah says a while ago you mentioned you were revisiting Iris Murdoch. Did you revise your view on her? Well, not yet. This is not just a popping in for a visit. This is a systematic reread. This is the thing I call a systematic reread, which means it's the full thing. It's very slow and considered. It's usually private, and it takes a long time. And Iris Murdoch wrote a lot of things, so I haven't revised my view of her yet. No, I'm reading everything. I'm rereading everything. A lot of it is stuff I haven't encountered before. I'm even going to read the philosophy. So it's just it'll be just from stem to stern. That takes a long time to do. Uh, Ryan says Steve gets great numbers. I don't know what that means. Richardson Reed says Aerosmith. Also not bad, but you're a little prejudiced when it comes to Aerosmith. Sid says, good morning from India. Felt great to catch the Steve stream live for once. Uh, did I already ask you where in India you are? I certainly want to know. The Doors. Oh my God, Ryan wants to know about the Doors. No, no, no. What about Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young? No, no love there. Fleetwood Mac. No. That reading guy says you have made 6,986 videos, almost 7K. How do you find that? I have no idea how to find that number. So I'm at 6,986 videos. So that's what? 110 videos to get to 7,000. So that's like what? 5 weeks? At 5 videos a day, that would be 5 weeks. So you're saying I will certainly hit 7,000 videos before summer. Is that right? Or am I doing that all wrong? One of you will have to tell me when I get to 7,000. I don't know what we'll do. Hannah's Books is here. Good Lord. I said I got here only in time to say goodnight. Yes. Yes, we are saying goodnight. Jack O'Hara says, thought you were more of a buglehorn kind of guy. And Mark agrees that he likes buglehorns. That reading guy says it's on your About section on your channel. Oh, what is on my About section on my channel? What is? Ryan says Hannah's review of the McCullers biography was fantastic. Saved us from reading. I agree. It was really, really good. J. Scott Phillips, there's only 14 videos to go. Oh, that's right. Okay, well, see, I can't do math. You're right. Okay, 14 videos to go. All right, so that's not summer. That's next week. All right, okay, all right. That reading guy says we need a 7K Q&A. Well, I would think, because no one's ever done that. And Tolstoy 111 again correcting my math. That reading guy says the number of videos you've made is on the about section. Oh, okay. I'll have to see if I can find the about section. Uh, Diane Loftus says 7K videos on April Fool's Day. Oh my God, wouldn't that be incredible? Well, I'll have to think about that. But I doubt I'll be thinking about it next week. We have one more day together, and then next week starts to unfold. I believe there will be quite a bit of what the YouTubers refer to as content, but I'm not 100% sure, and I'm not going to worry about it. The real life comes before the content. But what I can do, I will do, and if I can make a video a day, 2 videos maybe a day, I will. If I can't, I won't. But we will see. We will see what will happen. It would be wonderful if I could. Uh, but I do have to go. So uh, we'll just read a few more comments here, and then off we go. Sid Delhi. Oh, you're from Delhi. Okay. It'd be fun to get your adventures here someday. I know you've said you loved your visit. It was a long visit. It was more of a stay than a visit, and I did love it. Absolutely loved it. Uh, I absolutely loved it. I didn't particularly love Delhi, but I liked it, and oh my, I could go on forever. That reading guy, we need a Stevestream with David Murphy. Why David Murphy? Are you under the impression that he's my guest? Who would spend a week with David Murphy? That's a little boring, don't you think? Richard Rees, next week will rock. I tend to agree. And I think somebody else is going to like it quite a bit, but we'll see. You never know. Uh, Ryan says, please tell us your overall favorite MMM at the end of the month. Well, it doesn't work that way, Ryan. Why do you keep doing this? It doesn't work that way. Uh, well, what does that even mean? I'm going to read a D.L. and Pascoe novel. I'm going to read 5 series set in ancient Rome. I'm going to read a gritty Galway police procedural. I'm going to read Sir Peter Wimsey and Elizabeth George, and then at the end I'm going to say which is the best. No, they're all completely different. There's no way that I could. Anyway, Jack O'Hara, what is real life? Content is where it's at, dude. Ryan says, could Steve be a vampire? What was New Orleans like in the 18th century? I was thinking about that just the other day. Uh, a song that Sting did. He did a song called "Moon Over Bourbon Street" about the Vampire Lestat. He so much wanted to be the Vampire Lestat that he did a song uh, from the viewpoint of an Anne Rice style vampire. It was really kind of interesting. I was thinking, I think I was thinking about that because I led myself on a thread because for a minute there I was trying to think of pop song responses to the Troubles in Northern Ireland, and of course you think Sunday Bloody Sunday from U2, with that insufferable video. I have always thought that the Police song "Invisible Sun" was much better as a song about the Troubles in Northern Ireland. I just I've always liked it a lot more. There has to be an invisible sun, gives this heat to everyone. Has to be an invisible sun, gives us hope when the whole day is done. I'd like that so much more than Sunday Bloody Sunday, and that got me thinking of the Police, and that got me thinking of Sting, and that got me thinking of Moon Over Bourbon Street. Anyway, that reading guy is Mark staying with you. What about Mark's dog? No, who would spend a week with Mark Richardson? I ask you. Ryan says I'm going to read the Anne Rice books uh, at, of you after you said her mummy book is better than the Crocodile and Sandbank. I'm not 100% sure that I said that The Mummy by Anne Rice is better than The Crocodile and Sandbank. They are apples and oranges. They really are apples and oranges. They are trying to do 2 different things in 2 completely different ways. There's nothing funny, for instance, in The Mummy. But anyway, now it is 8:30, so now I am going to wrap this up. But I think we appreciate this very much, you all being here. Uh, uh, Ryan, that reading guy says one more blob watch. I think we got the blob to behave itself on the Kindle Fire. Is that right? Didn't we? I don't imagine things have changed much. It's this big thing that's headed for New England. Oh no, that's pretty bad. Let's use the iPad. For some reason, maybe yeah, that is pretty bad. That is pretty big. If that thing down here comes up the coast, this has some pretty intense weather in it. If that comes up here, that could be trouble for Sunday. I think tomorrow will still be clear. And then whatever happens will happen on Monday, or on Sunday rather. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm sorry, I'm letting the chat go away with me here, but I really do need to go. This was wonderful as always. I don't think there'll be a Stevestream tomorrow night, and I doubt there'll be a Stevestream next week. We shall see. I want to talk a little bit about writing and about self-publishing, and also maybe tacitly to warn you that your service may be interrupted. Just slightly, your service may be interrupted in the coming week. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you all for being here. I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.